The BC government is giving 3,500 smartphones to people on the street for COVID-19 information and connectivity. The BC government says that it is in the process of putting thousands of smartphones into the hands of some of BC's most vulnerable people to help ensure that everyone is informed about proper health guidelines during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, it's because the government is so moral and so virtuous, so caring and loving that they want to freely give these phones to the homeless in Vancouver's east side. It doesn't have anything to do with contact tracing and the fact that there's this digital surveillance control grid that is being set up globally in an effort to track and trace and database every single human being on the planet, even those who can't afford the technology to allow that to happen. No. It's all because they want you to be connected and to have access to information. Meanwhile, we know that the BC government has quietly been testing COVID-19 contact tracing apps. I exposed that in this video. Contact tracing is Big Brother, and Dr. Theresa Tam is a tool for the surveillance state, where we showed you that the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, thinks that Canadians will be willing to give up privacy and basic fundamental civil liberties in exchange for security and safety. He recently said this: "I think many Canadians would be open to the idea of providing some information that would normally not be provided simply because of this pandemic, but where do we draw the lines? That is something that has to be established. Even in an emergency, we'll be careful about what we're going to ask Canadians. It might be possible to allow this to be voluntary." Let me read that one more time. It might be possible to allow this to be voluntary. Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear that type of language coming from a head of state, you better know that it is on the agenda, and it is soon coming down the pipe, where it will in fact be mandatory. When they use language like it might be possible to allow this to be voluntary, that is putting it into the minds of the masses, the very possibility that it may someday be mandatory. And indeed, that is the agenda here, folks. And this is all despite the fact that a very small number of downtown Eastside residents have COVID-19. The number of people in the downtown Eastside who have contracted COVID-19 remains low, but health officials still refuse to release specific numbers. So as we see, it's not even a major issue down there right now. There isn't even a major cause for concern for them to have to go down there and give them 3,500 cell phones, unless it's not actually about a concern for their connectivity and their access to information, but if it's actually about tracking and tracing every single person on the planet, even those who can't afford to have the technology. If you're not familiar with Vancouver's infamous East Side, just do a Google image search for Vancouver East Hastings, and you'll see just how brutal it is. I mean, there's people shooting up in the streets. There's people dying all over the place from meth and heroin and crack. They have like this almost like a free market of stolen goods where these crackheads and meth heads sell all the things that they stole earlier that day, which is probably going to mean that a lot of these cell phones are just going to be traded for drugs and given in, traded for drugs. But what a lot of people don't know is that this is actually done by design. The city of Vancouver has purposefully put all the soup kitchens and the safe injection sites and a lot of the shelters and the things that these people flock towards in the same area of town. They put it all over on the east side. And again, that's by design, because they just wanted to push their homelessness problem off to the side and kind of just forget about those people. And that's exactly what they've done. Everybody knows that the BC government doesn't care about the homeless. Just take a look at East Hastings, folks, and you will see that this is how it's been going on for quite some time. So it has nothing to do with information and connectivity, and I think it has everything to do with setting up the digital surveillance control grid and tracking and tracing and databasing every single person on the planet. So let's take a look at this article a little bit more in depth. It says the province has partnered with a number of nonprofit organizations and 7-Eleven to secure 3,500 smartphones. 200 of which have already been handed out to those previously living in Vancouver's Oppenheimer Park and Victoria's Pandora Avenue and Topaz Park homeless encampments, according to the statement from the province Tuesday. Providing smartphones for people on the street will help create easier access to social health services, help people maintain physical distancing, and support people in staying connected to family and friends during this time. Isn't it interesting that they just threw in there, by giving people smartphones, they will be able to help people maintain physical distancing? Well, how on earth are you going to do that unless there's some sort of app that has been installed with the contact tracing software? The province said it hopes that the phones, which come with Wi-Fi enabled and loaded with $10 worth of data, will improve access to medication, safe drug supply delivery, and virtual doctor meetings. For people who are experiencing homelessness, the closing of public spaces like libraries due to COVID-19 has reduced internet connectivity options and created barriers to support and services. According to Lorraine Topaz, the executive director of the Social Planning and Research Council of BC, she said that access to basic communication plays a central role in how people practice physical distancing that is required during the pandemic. So they say this is a hugely important need that was going unmet. If you want people to stay safe and in their homes, then they have to have a way to communicate, whether that's with their workers, their family, their friends, and without the phone, it's impossible. So what they are suggesting here is that if you want to properly physically distance the homeless, they're going to need to be able to contact the outside world while they are isolated, hence the need to give them a phone. You see, they're not mentioning the contact tracing application. They're just saying it's all about keeping them connected. But we know the bigger agenda here, guys, is to track, trace, and database every single individual on the planet, as I said, even if you can't afford the technology. She said she's had people reach out from across the province, including youth in care, people with mental health challenges, or women fleeing domestic violence. She says the COVID-19 pandemic has opened up a conversation about the importance of internet access and a phone. You realize just how critical it is for people who are on the margins and who have been pushed aside. To date, 1,000 phones have already been handed out, with the additional 2,500 smartphones going out to organizations and community response networks throughout the province. So this is already well underway. And as I said, this is being done despite the fact that actually very small numbers of downtown Eastside residents have COVID-19. Dr. Patricia Daly, the Chief Medical Health Officer for Vancouver Coastal Health, did provide a percentage of those infected with the disease in a presentation Tuesday to Vancouver City Council. She said residents in the neighborhood are being tested at a rate of 40 per 1,000 people, which is more than 3 times the rate of the overall testing in BC. The most recent results in downtown Eastside showed 1.6% of those tested were positive for COVID-19, she said, but she didn't disclose the number of tests. This doesn't mean that 1.6% of the community has COVID, as we're only testing people with symptoms. So the people living in downtown Eastside with respiratory symptoms, only 1.6% have had COVID. That translates to a very, very, very small number of cases. Yet, they want to spend the kind of money and use the resources of the government and the logistics to hand out freely 3,500 smartphones when they're showing us it's not even a major issue down there. Guys, again, this is all about the digital surveillance control grid. They want you to believe that we're all in this together, right? No, actually, they are all in this together. There are a lot of talking heads of state who are puppets on a string right now, who are literally reading from a script that is coming down from their masters. If you don't believe me, just check out this brief clip of a compilation of some of the world's heads of state saying the exact same thing as they read from a script that is being handed down from on high.
Better diagnostics, treatments, and a safe and effective vaccine. COVID-19 diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines.
Largement du développement et du déploiement rapide de diagnostics, vaccins et traitements efficaces.
Universal access to vaccination, treatment, and diagnostics.
Equitable access to new COVID diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccine.
We must all work together on improving diagnostics, accelerating therapies, and ultimately developing a vaccine.
We need to make vaccines, treatment, and diagnostics accessible to everyone.
Vaccines, treatments, and diagnosis will be the most effective way to do it.
We need new diagnostics, vaccines, treatments, and an equal distribution to all.
On equitable access to diagnostics, treatments, and vaccines.
And affordability of the vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics.
So there you have it, guys. Puppets on a string. Do you think they are actually doing what they know is best for their own people? Or are they doing the bidding of their overlord masters, the powers that ought not to be? Many of these puppets on these strings are not even aware of how they're being used as pawns in this game, but yet they are. They're being used to set up a digital surveillance control grid globally that's going to monitor, track, trace, and database every single human being on the planet, even those who can't afford the technology. Guys, please click the thumbs up button and share this video. Get the word out that under the guise of just being, being nice here, wanting to help the homeless, we know that's a complete sham. We know it's all just a ruse to put this technology into the hands of the people who currently don't have it, so that they can continue the building of this Orwellian Big Brother surveillance control grid. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Do you think this is a good thing that the BC government is doing here by providing the homeless with smartphones? Or is there a larger agenda at play here to, as I said, track, trace, and database every single human being on the planet? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And once again, please click the thumbs up button and share this video. And if you support the efforts of this channel, please check the links in the description to find out how you can either donate or you can join as a member to contribute to our efforts here to bring you this information. So that's all for today, my friends. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.